I'm not too sure what's happening here. I got the bolts out. They're there. I thought they were just on to that chain sprocket, but it appears that the shaft goes all the way through that. So I ended up taking that housing off, which is here. So this must just be to change the sprocket if you ever change the sprocket. So I got the housing off. Of course, the washers fell in the dirt. And there's some more washers there, and then there's the bearing. Looks like they threw anti-seize on it. Hopefully we can get a number off that. That actually doesn't look that bad. It's this other bearing that I believe is bad. We might be able just to get away with cleaning up the bearings because there's a grease circ there that I didn't know, so maybe they had greased it. The bearings actually don't look that bad other than I just dropped it in the dirt. So maybe all it is keeping this tight. Keeping this tight so that the bearings don't walk their way out like they did. Because when I picked it up, the bearing was clearly out of the housing, but it actually looks fairly good. So I think I'm just going to clean it up. See if there's a part number on it. If there's no part number on it, I think I'm just going to put it back together nice and clean. I know it's kind of hacky. It should have... This is the dirty one, so that's the one that fell out first, so that's the front one. And I'll run it like that because this rake is still unproven, so I'm 99% sure it's going to work. I just don't want to tie a ton of money up into an old rake like this and then find out the dogs or something are shot down in there. And then if you got to buy a new gearbox or dogs, that pretty much is more than what these old rakes are worth. So then this either becomes scrap metal or a lawn ornament or a source of spare parts if you got another International 15. But there's not a lot of guys that have Internationals analysis up here. It's mainly New Holland side deliveries. So anyways, I'm going to wash up the bearings and see if I can get away with that. Okay, so I managed to clean up the bearing. It's a part number on it right there. Made in USA. I think it's N180420. But you might want to cross-reference that. Just check this other one. Yeah, N-180420. So I don't know if that's a bearing manufacturer number or an international number, but they're just roller bearings anyways. So I'm gonna grease them up and put them back in there because I don't think it's any different than reusing wheel bearing. They all turn nicely. This is just low speed stuff anyways, being ground driven. Thought I felt one get stiff there, but I think he had anti-seize in them because there looked to be some type of graphite. So, and there's the brake clean. So I'm thinking he had anti-seize in there, so that's probably what definitely helped out. But anyways, I'm going to clean up that housing and then pop these back in and grease it. Okay, so I just finished putting this back together. I tried to find a washer to stick in there just to take up some room, but I couldn't find one, so I just ended up bending the cotter key a little bit. Put a little pressure on that outside washer. Teflon taped the plug here. Gonna put it in there, seal it up, take that out. I got brand new gear oil, 80/90. That's what most international stuff is that I know of. A lot of the John Deere is the heavier one. Is it 120, 140 or something like that? It's a heavier gear oil, but a lot of the international stuff's 80/90, so I think that's safe because I'm pretty sure they're using ATF. So I'll flush it here before I dump in the new oil. And that should conclude that. I just got to put the chain back on and do the tensioner up. It's just a old block of hardwood or something. So might one day get a piece of plastic, UHMW or something, and get that taken care of, because the tensioner you can see has been cut into over the years. But oh, and then I got to grease this housing. I greased this whole thing the other day, and I never looked. I should have known, but I never looked down there for fitting. So that's pretty much it on the rake, and then get the tire back on, take her for a spin, and see what happens.